Hi, I'm Carol Wilson, Editor-at-Large for Light Reading, and I'm here with Brian Lilly, the Executive Vice President and Chief Product Officer for Equinix. Welcome, Brian.
Thanks, Carol. It's good to be here.
So, Brian, I think Equinix is a pretty familiar name to most folks. You're sort of thought of as a data center company, but you actually have a kind of broader vision these days. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. Well, we started out back in 1998, and so for the last 20 years, we just turned 20 years old. Data center platform is key to the services that we offer, but we're really more of an interconnection platform, a global interconnection platform. And we leverage the fact that we have 200 data centers in 52 metros in 24 countries all around the world.
Okay.
But that's sort of the substrate to the real key, which is interconnection.
Okay. All right, great. So when you talk about we're moving into a software-defined world where networks are much more fluid and dynamic, what role does Equinix play in that transition?
So our vision is to take those assets underneath that are very, very physical and layer on top of that intelligent software and really make that capable and available to any customer that wants to leverage it, whether you're small and medium business or a large global enterprise. And so we think software-defined infrastructure is key really to the future.
Okay, that makes sense. So then how does network functions virtualization play into that? Are you also then offering software-based functions on top of that infrastructure?
Yeah, so that's a great question. You know, Cloud Exchange Fabric started as a way to integrate clouds, but what we have found is that there's a number of use cases where with Cloud Exchange you could offer network functions virtualizations or virtualized VNFs, virtualized network functions on top of a platform, maybe in a market that a customer's not in. So they're testing a market. Well, this is a way they can spin up in what we call a performance hub, which is, you could think about it as routing, load balancing, firewall, etc. And you could spin that up, service chain those VNFs together, connected to the Cloud Exchange. You can now access clouds in that remote market without deploying any capital. You know, to us, we're seeing that even more, capital is freely available, not completely freely available, but it's available.
Right.
What's harder is talent and time.
Good point.
Talent and time is precious, and so
you're lowering that risk then.
We're
basically
trying to, and speeding time to market. There's some that say we want to build out, but we don't want to miss this market niche over the next 90 days, which maybe it takes me to build my infrastructure out. Can I deploy this? And then I'm going to build out, and then maybe I'll move those workloads over to the physical. So we're trying to give them choice. I mean, Equinix has always been about how do we give choice? And so this to us is another thing we've been asked for.
Okay, so you referenced Cloud Exchange. I know that's a major new initiative. Maybe it's not that new at this point. You've had it for
4 years.
4 years now. Okay, but tell us more about just the Cloud Exchange itself and how that's enabling the cloud marketplace.
Sure. So Cloud Exchange is a software-defined switching fabric that allows customers, as basically buyers and sellers, to come together and efficiently connect to each other. So they get a port on this fabric, and then over that fabric via software they can connect virtually to multiple players. So for example, if you put a 10 gig port on this switching fabric, you can set up a 1 gig virtual circuit to Amazon, Google, Microsoft, a carrier, each other, another customer in your or partner in your supply chain, or even yourself. We've seen some that over fabric want to connect their primary and their DR sites together. So there's been a number of use cases that have come up, and from a carrier perspective, it's a wonderful opportunity for them to do a few things. It lets them do sort of their NNIs electronically and virtually. So they can, basically connect carrier to carrier on the platform. A carrier could aggregate enterprise customers who are on there and say, look, I'm going to bring you to my network services, which are over here. You're connected to this side of the fabric. We can now easily aggregate customers for our service provider networks. And then I'd say the third sort of use case that I see carriers using it for is this sort of connecting across metros, spinning up, spinning down in a region that they're, again, trying out, because this is also something that isn't a long-term capital investment. It's a smaller OpEx investment.
Okay. Okay, so another one of the hot topics around now is the notion of edge compute and sort of the distributing digital edge, essentially. Give me Equinix's take on that and how it impacts your business.
Sure, this is really a wonderful opportunity, I think, for the community to serve basically digital business. You know, there's been studies that show GDP is shifting to online much more than brick and mortar, and so the opportunity is pretty large for all of us. And what digital edge implies to us is, and everybody always asks, well, the edge is evolving, and where is the edge? Is the edge the car? Is the edge the cell tower? Is the edge?
Is it your phone?
Is it? Yeah, exactly. So, but if I think about it from a B2B perspective, the edge might be, you know, I'm a U.S. multinational, so the edge for me might be Hong Kong or Singapore in Asia or Australia.
Okay.
The edge might be Frankfurt or Amsterdam in Europe. So the edge is really defined differently based on who the customer is. Okay. So in the case of sort of B2B enterprises, you know, we feel that the edge, we serve the edge quite well because of the 52 metros we're in. It's most of the traffic and most of the business are conducted in those 52. Not all, but most.
Okay.
And so what our strategy is around edge is to help customers aggregate traffic at the edge with the carriers. So aggregate your traffic, serve your customers and employees at the edge, kind of step one. Step two is really to connect those together around the world. So now you have, in essence, a really intelligent distributed network. Step two is to access clouds, because imagine if you are using Office 365, as opposed to hairpinning that traffic all the way back. You can do it at the edge.
That makes sense.
So the performance goes up. But once you start to decentralize, you've got to apply security controls. So that's step three is, okay, now that I'm at the edge, how do I deploy the same security policies and controls at the edge that I do centrally? Okay. Which is why we're doing a lot of recruiting of security companies to our platform so that they're available right there. So if you need a Zscaler type capability, they're there at the edge. Okay. And then I'd say fourth is, and this is something we're seeing customers do, is they're going, well, wait a minute, if I have an intelligent hub there for networking, I have cloud connectivity, and I have my security controls, what about moving data there at the edge that I'm either collecting from the edge or pushing to it? It's like
pushing content down,
exactly,
or pulling data in.
And I can cache it right there, as opposed to, again, bringing it back. And so now we're seeing customers build what we call data hubs, where they're saying, you know what, I can build a data hub in Singapore and make those, for example, those EDA designs available at the edge, closer to their employees and customers. And when you build that, it ends up being sort of a digital ready architecture that lets you scale globally, wind down if needed, or go to a new location. But you use that sort of cookie cutter blueprinting. And in fact, we believe so much in it, we built a thing we call the IOA knowledge base, the Interconnection Oriented Architecture. It's a play on SOA. Interconnection Oriented Architecture knowledge base, ioakb.com, where you can where it's free, where they can go in and they can get blueprints, literally blueprints on how to do this step by step. Oh, wow. We really believe in this. We think this is next gen enterprise.
Okay. Would you ever see Equinix pushing even closer from, I know you're mostly in very large facilities, to create those aggregation points that feed into those larger facilities? Is that something you're looking at?
It's an excellent question. This is what we call internally anyway, the evolving edge. You know, where does that edge go? If you look at Cloud RAN, Cloud Radio Access Network, where they're saying, hey, is there a way that we can simplify what's at the towers and maybe put aggregation points a little further back in, and those aggregation points sometimes land on an Equinix data center, lucky us, sometimes they don't. And so then do we actually do something in that area? I mean, we're contemplating all of that, working with the carriers, the network equipment manufacturers. I mean, we're really thinking about where this is headed. And I don't think anybody really knows. Everybody prognosticates, but I think we're in that game.
Okay. Brian, thanks for being here with me today.
Thank you very much, Carol. Thank you.